Hello and welcome to Conquer Crochet, the channel for tips, tricks and techniques for conquering your crochet. Everything I talk about today will be linked in the descriptions below, and if you enjoyed this video don't forget to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe and hit the bell and do all those lovely things that you need to do to help a YouTube channel to grow. It is very much appreciated. Thank you. So, I've been inspired by this book. Now I've shared this on a video before. It's the Conquer Crochet book, and I've been making the Brussels sprouts. So I don't know if you can see those there. And I thought, oh, I'm going to make a few more of these, and I thought I might use them as table decorations. And then I decided that my kitchen very rarely gets decorated at Christmas. There may be a few bowls of nuts around and a couple of odd little bits. But I thought I actually want to give my kitchen the Christmas treat this year. So I have a spare one of these little trees that is going to go on my kitchen windowsill, and I'm going to add my sprouts to it. But I don't just want a sprout tree, I want a Christmas dinner tree. So I'm going to add a few more different decorations, and then over the next few videos I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do those patterns for what I've decided to do. So the first decoration that we're going to do is this absolutely adorable little carrot. I can just see a few of these hanging next to my sprouts, and I think he's going to look absolutely lovely. So for this tutorial I'm using Patterns 100% Cotton DK. I have a green and an orange. I'm also using a small amount of black. You could use embroidery thread if you want to. I'm just using the Patterns Cotton and DK and black to make the mouth. We're going to need some toy stuffing. If you've got proper toy stuffing, better, but whatever you have around that you could use to stuff would be totally fine. This is going to be a decoration and not a toy, so it doesn't matter if you've got cotton wool in there or something, because it doesn't need to necessarily be washed like a toy would be. We also have 5mm toy eyes, so you measure from across the diameter, so from side to side. You could use slightly bigger ones if you wanted to. I quite like the size on these ones given the proportion of the carrot. But if you wanted to make the carrot slightly bigger, then obviously you might want to have bigger eyes. So that's cool. And obviously with the toy eyes you get the backing as well. If you don't have toy eyes you could sew on buttons, or you could embroider eyes on, maybe do a couple of French knots for the eyes. I'm going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook. Normally with a DK I would use a 4, but given that it's aragurumi, I don't want too many holes there, so I'm going to use a 3.5. You could use a 3 as well, and make sure your stitches are really nice and tight. I have my scissors cut off my end, my yarn needle for sewing in my ends and attaching all the parts together, and also sewing on his mouth. And I have a stitch marker just in case I need one, because we're going to be working in rounds, and if you find it easier to have the stitch marker, then you need to have one of those to hand. You may or may not also want to have a row counter, just so that you can keep track of what row you're on, but there aren't too many rows that we're working on, so the row count is really up to you, personal preference. So let's get on with the tutorial. So we're going to start off with the orange, and we're going to make a magic ring. You can do the magic ring in whichever way you prefer to do the magic ring. I'll put a link in the cards below for a video on how to do different methods of doing the magic ring, just in case you want to have a little look there. So I've made my magic ring, and I'm going to chain 1. And then going to do 4 double crochets into the magic ring, making sure I'm going under both parts of the loop. Now that's UK terminology double crochet, in US terminology that would be single crochet. So I'm going to go into the magic ring with 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, and 4 double crochets. And I'm going to pull the ring slightly, not too tight just yet, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to slip stitch into that first stitch that we made through both parts of the stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the one on my hook. I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to do 2 double crochets in each of the stitches going around. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's not start in this one here because we've just done our chain 1 over that stitch there. So we're going to do 2 double crochets in there. So that's 1 and 2. 3 and 4. 5 and 6, 7, come on, 7 and 8. We're then going to join with a slip stitch to the next stitch. So let's count our 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So going into here with our slip stitch, and we're going to chain 1. So the next part we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the following stitch, and that will be a repeated pattern. So 2 double crochets, then 1 double crochet, and we're going to do that 4 times. So double crochet in the first one, 1, and the second, 2, and then 1 double crochet in the next stitch. That's 1 repeat, double crochet, same stitch, double crochet, next stitch, double crochet, that's the second repeat, next stitch, 2 double crochets, so that's 1, same stitch, 2, next stitch, and that's our third, and the final repeat, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and then 1 in the final stitch. So that should give us a total of 12 stitches, and we're going to do a slip stitch in the first stitch that we made. So let's count backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're going to go into here, and it's always worth counting because it's very easy to get confused with where our stitches are. I'm just going to tighten up my tail just to make sure that that gap's really nice and tight. I'm going to chain 1, and we're going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch going round. So this is row 4, so rows 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 are all going to have 1 double crochet in them, and we are going to join with a slip stitch in each round, but you may wish to use your stitch marker for this. So there's stitch 1, pop my stitch marker in just so I know where I am in case I lose my way when I'm talking. Obviously there's going to be 12 stitches in this round because there was 12 made in the last round. So 1, second double crochet, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Go on. Now it looks like you have a stitch here. That's not a stitch, that's the chain 1 that you did to give you your height. So be careful, which is why counting is so important. Okay, so that's our 12. Going to slip stitch into stitch 1. Remembering it's not this one here, it's this one here. Chain 1, double crochet in the next stitch, pop our stitch marker back in, oops. So that's 1, 2, 3, and again we're going to do 12 in this round. So this is round 5. So complete round 5, 6, 7 and 8, and then I will join you back then. So pause the video now whilst you complete the next few rounds. So I've just finished my round 8. So I'm now going to go to round 9. I'm going to chain 1 to give me my height, and we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next stitch, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, and that'll be a repeated pattern that we'll do 4 times. So 2 double crochets in that first stitch, 1 and 2, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet. Move the work round, so that was repeat 1, 2 double crochets in the next stitch, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, that's the second repeat, 2 double crochets in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the next, 1 double crochet in the one after that, that's the third repeat, and then the final repeat, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, then 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet. Remember, that's our starting chain 1. So we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch that we made. If you want to go back and check and count, you can do that. I think that should be 16 stitches because we've added an extra 4 to the 12. So you can see we're starting to move out a little bit now to give us the sort of triangular shape, if you like, of the carrot. So I'm going to chain 1. Rows 10, 11, 12 and 13 are all going to be a repeat of rows 4 to 8, so we're going to be doing a double crochet in each stitch all the way round, joining at the end of the round, chaining 1 and then doing the next round. So we're starting here on round 10, so I'm just working my way round with a double crochet in each stitch, and remember there's going to be 16 stitches, so it's getting slightly bigger than it previously was because of those 2 double crochets together increase the number of stitches that we have. Again, you may want to use your stitch marker for this section if you find that will help. So I do 1 and then 2, 3 and 4. Oops. So that's one for the height, so I do need to go in there. 4, and that's why I need to use stitch markers because I forget sometimes, especially if I'm making a video and I'm talking. Okay, chain, so I slip stitch into the first stitch, chain 1 and then do row 11. So you've got 11, 12 and 13 to do double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So pause the video now whilst you complete 11, 12 and 13. So I've just finished row 13 and I've just pulled my yarn out a bit just so I've got a bit of slack there and I'm not going to lose my ends, because what we want to do now is to add in our eyes and also to sew on the mouth. So I'm going to take one of my eyes and I'm going to insert it into the row between rows 8 and 9. So that was 13, 14, 15, going the wrong way. So that was 13, 12, 11, 10, so 9 going in there. And I'm not going to put the back on just yet, just so I can see what it looks like. So 1, 2, and then the third gap over. You've got 1 stitch there, 2 stitch there. So that's how he's going to look with his little eyes. So I'm happy with the spacing and the alignment there. So just turn it inside out slightly. and then you just pop the backs on, and sometimes these can be tricky, sometimes they go on really easily. It all depends where you've got them from, and you just have to push those on. Do the same with the second one. Now, although these are supposedly child safety, these are actually quite sharp on the end, so if you were going to be using these with a child over the age of 5, I would say, you might want to take off some of that sharpness. If you're using these for children who are much younger, I would suggest actually sewing on the eyes rather than using the toy eyes, just in case they come out and the child swallows them. For the purposes I'm using it for as a decoration, I'm not planning on having any children anywhere near my kitchen other than my son, who's 11, so that won't really matter. So there are his eyes on. The next thing to do is to embroider his mouth. So I'm going to take a small amount of black yarn. This is the Patterns DK cotton, and I'm just going to thread that onto my yarn needle. Now, some people say that you should do this afterwards. I just find it really difficult to actually sew anything away afterwards once it's got stuffing in it. So I'm going to find somewhere on the inside just to fasten my yarn to. So I'm going to just pull the yarn through, leave a little bit of a tail so I can make a knot. And you may want to make a couple of knots here if you want more security, just to make sure this smile doesn't fall off, because that's not really in the Christmas spirit. Okay, that's the second one. So that's nice and secure. The other thing you can do is to hide this tail from the start. So we can just poke that down, because there's enough threads going on at the moment. We can get rid of that one. And then think about where you want his smile to be. So I'm thinking I want it to sort of go from here to here to here, or do I want it a bit lower down? I think I am going to go there to there to there. So I'm going to come through here, down one, and across. And then up to the top of the next part of his mouth, which I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. Or do I want it here? I think I might go there. He might just have a little smile. And then back in the same hole. So it's just a little V that we're creating. So you just got a nice little cute smile there. Turn it back inside out. And then fasten off your yarn. So again, I do that by going through a stitch that's not going to be seen on the other side, making a knot, and again, if you want to do a double knot, you can do a double knot here just to tie it off. We don't need to weave in any ends, but you might not want too much of it hanging around. So there we go, that's his features done. So we just need to pop some stuffing in next. So I've got some toy stuffing here, and I'm just going to break little bits off because we don't want to overstuff him. So being careful not to hurt yourself on the eyes, and to make sure that you have all your stitches on the outside. Just going to pop some of that in. Now I found that sometimes using a crochet hook, if you have one of these like polymer clay crochet hooks, you can just push down into the bottom just to make sure it goes into all the right little nooks and crannies. This is the time as well to sort of work around giving him a bit of a point, but he's a carrot and carrots aren't perfect, so if he's a little bit wonky, that's absolutely fine. So we've got a nice little bit of stuffing in there for him. We're going to carry on stuffing in a little while, but we're going to do a few more crochet stitches to start with. And then just before we fasten him off, we'll just give him his last little top up. Okay, so the next stitch then, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to double crochet 2 together to start with. So to do that with the amigurumi method, we're going to go through the front loop only, yarn over, pull through the next front loop, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over and pull through all 3 on our hook. And I'm going to put a little stitch marker in there just so I know that was stitch number 1 in case I get lost again. Right, so the pattern is double crochet 2 together, then double crochet, double crochet. Oops, I managed to catch the stuffing then. So double crochet 2 together, double crochet, then double crochet 2 together, double crochet, not playing ball today, double crochet, double crochet. And we do this pattern 4 times. So double crochet 2 together, double crochet, double crochet, and pull your stitches quite tight because we don't want the stuffing to be shown through because it's the wrong kind of stuffing for a Christmas dinner. Okay, double crochet 2 together, 1 and 2, and then double crochet, double crochet, oops, and then we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch that we made. Take my stitch marker out, so round 15, going to chain 1, and we're going to do 2 double crochets followed by 1 double crochet, and again we're going to do that 4 times. So front loops only, 2 double crochets, that's 1, 2 together, and then 1 double crochet, double crochet 2 together, 1, 2, and then 1 double crochet, double crochet 2 together, that's 1 and 2, and then 1 double crochet, and the last one, double crochet 2 together, 1 and 2, and 1 double crochet in that last stitch. Now at this point you might want to add a bit more stuffing, so just pull your yarn free, make sure that holds nice and round, and then grab a little more stuffing. As I said before, don't try and overstuff too early, because what you find if you just chuck a load in, or if you're not using proper toy stuffing, is you'll get sort of wonky shapes inside and you can't manipulate it to sort of give you the character features that you want for your carrot. So you may want to have it narrow at the bottom and then a little bit chubbier at the top. It all depends how you'd like your carrot to look. So I think I'm going to be happy with what we've got so far. Oops. Okay, now the last round is round 16. So for this last bit then we're not going to chain 1, we're just going to do double crochets 2 together all the way round. So that's 1. I'm going to put my stitch marker in just because it gets a little bit complicated when you're doing double crochets. So that's 1, 2 together I mean. There's 1, and 2, and 3 double crochets there, and I'm going to not do the last stitches. I'm going to slip stitch into the last stitch. If you go too far into the stitches, you end up with too much of a point. So I've slip stitched into the last stitch, and I'm going to pull some of the yarn out so that I have something to work with when I need to sew off my ends. So let's take the stitch marker out and load up my yarn needle. So you can see how that's starting to get a bit pointy. If you keep going round with double crochets 2 together, it just ends up in too much of a point. So we're going to take our yarn, and if you watched my bobble hat video last week, I'll put a link in the descriptions below. We did this weaving in just to close off all the stitches, just to make sure it's all nice and secure. Find a stitch to go through just to finish off. Got a nice knot there. Double knot if you feel it's going to be more secure. Don't worry too much about how it looks at the top, because we have the leaves going on the top anyway. And then I'm going to take my yarn needle through the carrot, pull it out the other side just to hide off that end. So there we have our lovely little carrot and his cute little face. Now we just need to make the leaves. So the final part to make are the leaves and the little stem at the top. So we're going to start off by making a slip knot, and you can do this in whichever way you prefer. And we're going to chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the second chain from the hook, we're going to crochet double crochet. So we don't count the one on the hook. So 1, 2, going to double crochet into that stitch there, and we're going to double crochet into the next 5 chains all the way down. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Don't forget, if I'm going too fast, you can either slow the video down in the settings, or you can re-watch the video. You can pause at any time you like, rewind it, go back, whatever you need to do. Okay, so I've gone down to my 5 chains there. So I'm now going to chain 7 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Double crochet in the second chain from the hook, 1, and then 5 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then I'm going to chain 7 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Double crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then crochet down the chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to do another chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, double crochet down that one, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and do it again one last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, double crochet all the way down. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We're then going to slip stitch into the top of this leaf here. So it doesn't really matter which stitches you go through, but that first stitch you have there, we're just going to slip stitch into it. Then we're going to slip stitch into the top of the next leaf down. And in the top of the next leaf down. And in the top of the first leaf. So that sort of joins them all together. So now if you bring your first leaf round and just double crochet, sorry, slip stitch into the side of that first leaf. So I've just gone into the side bit here just to bring it round to make it into a circle. And then going to yarn over and pull through, and we're going to fasten off here. We're going to leave quite a long tail, so a good length of yarn, because we need to sew and we need to have a hanging thread as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is hide away this tail, so I'm just going to sew that into the top just so we can get rid of it. We don't need that little tail there. I'm just going to do it a couple of times, sorry, just to make sure it is well hidden. Okay, so this is the top of our carrot, and it goes on here. Now you can either leave it where they're sort of sticking off, or you might want to sew some of them down. You might want to position it so he doesn't have leaves over his eyes. It's entirely up to you how you want to position it. So decide where you want it. Get your long tail that you just left and thread it on. And I'm just going to go into the top of the leaves, into the carrot base, and across to the opposite side. So I'm going through the top of the carrot there. I'm just going to pull it through. I'm going to have a little stitch here because I want some of these to stick off. So I'm going to go down a stitch, and then I'm going to go through the carrot into the next leaf. And don't put it too tight, otherwise things will start sticking up. Go down a stitch or two again, which I'll go down 2 this time, and into the next leaf. And I'm going to go down a stitch again and into the next leaf, down a stitch again into the next leaf, and I'm going quite low down on this one because rather than going down a stitch I'm going to go up a stitch and through the middle, so not quite the centre but up towards the middle. And I'm then going to find where my centre point is here, the opposite side to where my yarn comes out. I'm going to pull my yarn through a little stitch, but making sure I don't take up all my yarn, so I'm going to pop my finger in there, pull that little tail through. Where is he? He's on that side. There we go. So that's the height that I want for my carrot. For my hanging thing for my carrot. I'm going to go back through that stitch again from the opposite side, so we're going over it. Oops, get that tail through. Which one's the tail? That one. And then they're going to go back through just to make a little knot. So that should be nice and secure there. And don't pull them too tight. If you hold your hanging bit and your tail, you should get a nice tight knot there. If you want to, you could go back through again and make another knot somewhere else. You're not really going to see all of these knots because they'll be hidden on the greenery anyway. So I'm going to go back through. Lovely, extra special knot. I'm going to go through the top of the carrot, through his body, come out the other side. I'm just trying to hide away the leaves now. I'm going to put it tight so I can't see it. Trim off the end and that thread will pop back inside. Now if you have any bits like this that are coming through, poking through too much, just pull them out of the way. And if you just pull down on his bottom end, the pointy end, just to make him a little bit pointier, you can stretch him out as much as you like. So there we have your finished carrot for your Christmas dinner tree decorations. I really hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. I have lots of other Christmas tutorials coming up, so make sure you've hit that subscribe and notification bell so that you can get notified every time a video goes live. Also, if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps us to get seen by YouTube, and then more crocheters will be able to join us and we can build our lovely Conquer Crochet community. There are 2 other videos now on screen to help you on your crochet journey, and I will see you over there. Thank you so much for joining me on this one, and happy hooking!